Bam! Intro.
Boom! Casino guitars. Today we're gonna talk about speakers, tubes, and tube speakers.
Stuff. Speakers and tubes and speakers.
Get ready for this.
Woo.
All right, I'm Sean.
I'm Jonathan.
That's him.
The soft-spoken one.
The soft-spoken. The gentle giant.
That's
the
me.
BFG, they call him.
What?
Oh, wait, that's him.
No, that's that guy.
So, I have a Magnatone Varsity Reverb that I swapped the tubes
you
and
do.
speaker in. But before I did that, I had the lightning idea. I said, what I should do while I'm doing this is record it. So I recorded it with the old tubes and speaker.
Like nothing done.
Nothing done.
The tubes weren't gone, but they were getting
Pretty, yeah. I didn't have a reason other than I was like, I've been playing this amp for 2.5 years. I played at a lot of gigs.
That's when you play as much as you do,
Yes.
you need tubes after that one.
But I couldn't really fathom if there was a difference yet or not. So I've never changed tubes in a speaker. So I was like, I've never changed tubes and a speaker. That is true, actually. Sorry.
We'll get into that. We'll talk about the tubes after we do the sound clips.
But Jonathan hasn't heard it. He hasn't heard the amp with the new stuff in it either.
Nope.
He hasn't played it. We've got that here. So what we're gonna do is let Johnny listen to those different sound comparisons as I recorded them. Now, I want to preface this with as well, I may have not played it exactly the same. The chords are the same, and the touch was trying to be pretty close to the
got
same.
excited.
I did get excited. That's a fact. Whenever I heard it, I was like, oh, snap. And then I kind of lost my train.
Because we've got it with, before you did anything,
Yep,
just the tube swaps.
just the tubes.
This was the perfect amp because you don't have to bias the varsities.
That's right.
So new tubes in, and then new tubes and a speaker change. Now, did you change brands of tubes or anything?
Yes, I did.
What'd you go from what was in there, which was what, 2 amp Dogger?
I think so. I think mine
Or
had
JJs?
the JJs. Yeah.
JJs,
And
okay.
I went to the only thing I was able to get my hands on immediately, which was a set of Mesa Boogie tubes, which
Okay.
I was a little weary about, but I
That's
was
fine.
like, I'll give it a shot. Who cares? I talked to my good friend Anthony at Marla about it, and he said, nah, man. He's like,
good.
they'll be good.
They're good. I've used them plenty of times. And then speaker, you went from a...
I went from the warehouse speaker that Magnatone that's their proprietary branding that they do on it, which was a ceramic speaker,
Yep.
to an A30 Fane speaker, which is an Alnico speaker, not ceramic anymore. And a good friend of ours, Kevin Walsh, gave me that speaker. Thank you very much, Kevin, because I'm in love with Fanes now.
I'm in love with the Fane.
That's amazing.
Sorry.
So
I got
now
excited too.
we're going to let Johnny listen to these. I've got them all lined up in a line. Derek's going to put that in there for you to hear as well. I highly suggest you listen to it with headphones in. Don't make fun of the inconsistency in the playing, but there is consistency.
It's
with
not
chords.
about that. All right,
Get
I'm
ready.
pushing my ears in. Tell me when.
Here we go.
Don't deafen me.
All right. Oh, yeah. Good point. That baby was cranked. All right. All right.
Okay.
Play this bit back for you, too, if you want to hear it here in a second.
I want to hear can I hear the whole thing again?
Absolutely.
And I might stop them as we go.
Yeah, whatever you want to do. Space bar, you know the deal.
Okay. All right, cool.
All right. What are your first thoughts? And then I'll tell you what I heard.
So the first clip, right? It's funny on that first round where you're doing the little chord progression, right? Like I feel like I can hear it the best in that, but you know, obviously on the recording you've got them close to the same. The second clip might actually be slightly quieter, which makes you think, oh, it's not the new tubes. But here's what I can tell, right?
Yeah.
Not too long ago, I had to replace the tubes in my Twilighter.
Yeah.
Because it got it really brittle sounding. You know what I mean? And it was like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't as magical as like when I first got it and I was in love with it and I was like, my God, this sounds great.
Yep.
And then, I'm old enough, I've done it long enough, I've changed tubes before, and that's what happens, right? And then you put the new tubes in and you're like, oh my God, there it is again. And I can hear that in the second clip, right? Because it's smoother. It's the first one is sharp, like when you hit it, like that high end is like, but not in a necessarily pleasant way. And the second one is like, okay, there's the bass and the mids again, and it's rounded back out. Right?
That's what I heard. I hate that I didn't hit I wish I would have played them exactly the same to really show that, and it's hard to tell in the clip, which sucks, but that is exactly what I heard in the room, because I played it, and that's where, like Johnny said, I did get really excited, because I've never done this before, and I'm like, oh, wow, it's different.
I've literally, because you're an idiot when you start out, right, and you don't know. Like, I can remember trading a telly that I loved because the frets were gone, and I was really young and too stupid to be like, oh, I can get these, like, crowned and leveled. And what an idiot. But anyway, and I've done the same thing where I was like, man, I just don't like this amp anymore. And it's just because it needs tubes, and then you got to bias it, right? Yours you don't, which is awesome.
Which is really cool. And thinking about that, where your Twilighter, you had to bias it. And
I put the tubes in, and it was like, I don't know, and then I had to play around with the bias for a while. But now it's dialed back in, and it's perfect again.
What a lifesaver to have self-biasing amps, though. If that's possible with any amp, they should.
That's like the friggin' car amps are amazing because they do that. Exactly. Okay, now that we've said that, right? Now I want to hear. Okay, so I forget the old one now. Clearly, the new tubes are better. Now I want to hear the difference in the two speakers and concentrate on that. All right, so now I'm going to go back to just the first clip. Oh, so new tubes, but original speaker, and then new speaker. Okay. Easy.
Yep.
So, first off, it sounds good with the original speaker.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That warehouse speaker was dope. I had no other reason for changing it other
totally different ceramic though to a Alnico. The Alnico is like it's starting to get like chimier thing. It's not harsh, but it's chimier. Like the first thing was brittle, harsh in a bad way. You know, this is chimey in the good way. To me, that's what I hear.
As well as I do, when a speaker gets broken in, too, it widens the sound some. So I'm excited to see where in like 10 to 20 hours of playtime on this amp, that speaker is going to be at.
Because that was not broken in at all.
No, that one is like fresh, and it already sounds really good. What got me?
By the way, it's the Fane A30.
A30. Yep.
Fane A30 is the speaker in it now.
So I've been borrowing a Milkman amp from Sweet Kevin as well. We call him Sweet Daddy Kevin. That he's been letting me borrow, and it had a Fane A30 in it. And that, I don't know exactly which model it is. I just play the hell out of it because it's awesome.
The amp?
Yes.
I think it might be the Creamer.
I think so, too.
Maybe the Creamer? I don't remember either.
It's really good, though. Yeah. It has that A30 speaker in it, though. And it sounded really rich, and I just enjoyed the reactiveness of that speaker to what I was playing. I was assuming it was more of the amp. Having the speaker in there now with an amp that I know very well and I've played a lot, I'm like, damn. Like I
changes it a lot.
Yeah,
right?
I'm like, I want to maybe invest in putting those in some of my other amps too, just because that's a really good sound. I mean, like you said, it's got this chimey thing, but I also feel like there's this, it's almost like more well-rounded in a lot of the areas that I want it to be, like the bass area. Like it doesn't go, this amp before, and I don't know if it was the speaker. I don't know if it's also just the way that it is that amp working with that speaker, but the bass end of it would get a little flabby and a little farty earlier than I'd want, and I would always be running the bass lower.
And you feel like now you got more.
I do, and I can kind of push that some.
I mean, I think big takeaways from this, right? Like, always change tubes. Tubes are like, I mean, you don't need them like every 6 months or anything, unless you're like touring and you play every night for hours hard, but if you get an amp that just you loved it and suddenly you don't, change the tubes. I'm guilty sometimes of waiting until it doesn't work. I need new tubes.
Yes.
Don't necessarily do that. So like if it gets to where you're like, oh, this is not as full sounding anymore, or you just out of love with it, you might need tubes. Or it may need to be biased. Now the speaker thing is more complicated because I think you got to find the thing that fits what you do.
Yes, I completely agree. And I've never swapped a speaker before, ever. Just not because I didn't want to or anything. I
You overlook it, and it's one of those things that's a pain, and if it's kind of an unknown, you just, but, I mean, and this is not, like, everyone, people have done videos on this. There's a great Wampler video where Brian Wampler's, like, running the same amps through, all crazy different amps through the same speaker in the closet, and you're like, wow, they sound a lot more like, Fender Vox Marshall with the same speaker. So, speaker is a huge part of the equation, and I think it's neat seeing your Magnatone sort of get a character that I don't necessarily ascribe to Magnatones, but it's still got all the good part of it,
Well, and it being, like, obviously having the EL34s in it, it already leans towards a Vox kind of world, a little bit. Sort of, but it's got the Fender thing still. With this speaker, I almost feel like it's leaning further into that Vox world now.
It's still a fuller, chimey thing, though.
It is.
Honestly.
It's still its own thing completely, but it's neat to see that and play it and be like, damn.
I still haven't played in person, so I can't wait. I've just heard the clips, but that's cool, man. I think it's worth trying. I can remember the first time it hit me that speakers were, like, crazy important. When I was gigging a lot in Nashville, I'd gotten my first, like, old amp, or it was a vintage head. It was a Bandmaster. And I went and bought a little cheap, like one of those Avatar 112 cabs. And I was looking for like a 4-ohm thing. And the only one I could find in town was like an old like Celestion like Lead 80. And I was like, okay, So I put it in there just because I was like ready to use it. And I loved it and it was cool for a while. Yeah. And I was like, man, I'm not digging this, right? So then I figured out Warehouse would make you anything in 4 ohms. So I ordered, I don't even remember what I ordered. I think maybe it was their version of like a creamback, like an ET65 or an ET90 or one of those. And put it in there and was like, oh, my God, night and day. You know what I mean? And then I used that speaker in that little cab for a long time with a couple different Fender heads. It was like, okay, that's the deal. That's what I really like. Yeah. But like, it really makes a difference.
It makes a huge difference.
With different amps,
Well, different speakers, and then also, with closed back or open back cabinets as well.
Yeah.
Anything that you're doing with that and toying around with, it can change the whole entire image of an amp, So it's been exciting to do that with this.
The other night, we were messing around at the Rooster. I was rehearsing, and then we were all there just like, I started playing a certain song because I had a fuzz and a wah on the pedal board. And if you remember, you can see that, by the way. We're just joking. Don't take it too seriously. But anyways, Sean had come around. Well, I didn't realize it. It's a deluxe reverb. It's sitting on top of a Marshall cab, and he plugged it into the Marshall cab.
I didn't say anything either. I let him do it for a bit.
But I mean, that open back with the closed back is sort of like the best of all worlds.
It's kind of dope. I've been running amps that way. I'm excited to run this with that, and it's an 8-ohm in cabinet, so it works well with combos.
Yeah.
So my thought is maybe taking that thing apart and messing around with the speakers in it, because it just has vintage 30s in it, which are cool.
I mean, maybe we need to do a video like that. Just all of our favorite amps with a bunch of different speakers / cabs.
Yeah.
And just see, just for fun. Let us know in the comments if you think that would be interesting, or if you're like, it's boring, everyone's done that, we don't care anymore.
Yeah.
It's fine either way.
I may do a video to get people hip to a recording method that I've been using with that cabinet and a couple of different amps and some ABY magic that I've been playing around with. If you enjoy close miking cabinets, you might be like, lame, don't do that, that's stupid. I like to give some space and air for the speaker to kind of bounce and hit the mic. So
I like that too a little bit. Yeah. The more I play around with it, the more I dig that. Our good friend Eddie 9V says get the mic as far away as you can. Maybe not all the time, but I know that they play around with that recording, so that he wants it to sound like you're in a honky tonk and you're hearing, because you don't hear the room and the stuff. It doesn't sound like in the room if you close mic it, but you can get a little more of that if you back up.
Well, if you back up, and I mean, like, if you just do home recording for fun and you want to see something different, even before you tweak the amp or anything like that, try and move that microphone about a foot away from the speaker. Like, get a good foot off of that.
See, I like that.
And it opens up a really cool tonal world and palette compared to just catching one part of that speaker.
I think, man, when you do that, right, when you close mic it, you immediately go to EQing and adding, taking away, and I got to cut this out, and it's too harsh. if you do that, to me, it sounds a little more like what I want already without having to do things to it. And I'm a fan of having close mic it if you want, and then have a room mic and mix some things.
Do both. Yeah,
I think that's nice. You know.
Hell yeah.
But you know, I'm not an engineer. I'm just a lonely,
lowly
sad
guitarist.
D minus level demo session.
Here we go.
Here we go.
You're not Clapton. Come on. You're better than Clapton. Boom.
Oh my God. Pin drop.
like
But yeah,
that?
that was really fun. That's cool.
fun,
I'm glad
right?
you did that because it's cool. It's cool to hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, get new tubes if you need them.
Yeah.
And experiment with speakers. That's an easy way, a relatively cheap way. I mean, you know, you could buy a pedal or you could get a new speaker, but a really good way to maybe save an amp that you are
Couple of
not as in love
tubes.
with anymore.
Exactly. I start with the tubes if you're afraid to do the speaker, and then once you do that, I know for me, I'm like, dude, I'd swap speakers in anything now. I'm like, that's awesome. If I can take an amp and it also gives it more of your thumbprint, what you might like. So
That is, I will say, that is where I love combo amps, but that's maybe where cabs went out. It's easy to have a couple different cabs and just like, bam. But you can do it with combo amps too. All you can do is unplug them, you know?
that's right.
Plug them into the cab. Done. Just make sure the ohms all match up. But
That's right.
anyways, yeah, man. Fun times. Let us know what you thought in the video. What did you prefer? Some people will probably prefer the new speaker, or old speaker, new tubes.
Yeah.
The middle one. Some people are gonna like the new speaker and the new tubes. But yeah. Anyways,
I agree.
thanks for watching. Hit like, hit subscribe.
Hit the bell.
We shall see you next time.